you're looking for positivity or looking for encouragement, to me a Brinson aims to educate you, to give you the push to believe, to have the mindset for success, mindset for success, to have the mindset for success, to have the mindset for success.
Welcome to the Mindset for Success show. I'm Temia Brinson, your host. And our guest today is attorney Gary Siplin, and he was in the Florida House and the Florida Senate. And he is the managing director, the managing partner at Siplin Law Firm PA. And we also have Russell Drake, and he is the CEO and founder of Build Black Daily. So, Attorney Siplin and Russell Drake, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us on your number one show. We appreciate it.
All right. So today we're continuing our discussion about the handling of Haitian migrants. And once again, just to give the audience an overview of what occurred about a couple of weeks ago, reports stated that there were approximately 15,000 Haitian migrants at the Texas border, and they were all under terrible conditions under just this one bridge. And a photograph came out and some footage about showing the Border Patrol agents on horseback with what appears to be whips or a rope or some type in their hands, and they were aimed at the migrants. And of course, that created an outrage just because of the imagery and what it looked like. And eventually, though, the migrants were moved out, they were processed and deported. Some were allowed to stay in and apply. But let's discuss the immigration policy. Attorney Siplin, I want to start with you because I follow you and your wife, Vice Mayor Victoria Siplin. You went down to the border, the Texas border, around when all this was happening. So I want to hear your personal story. What did you see? What happened when you got there?
Well, you know, the backdrop is Vice Mayor Victoria Siplin is an immigrant. She's a child of Haitian migrants who migrated from Haiti to the Bahamas. Her mom died after the fourth sister was born. Their father abandoned them, so they were sent to Fort Lauderdale with an aunt. The aunt raised her. You know, the aunt's children were matriculated to become citizens, but of course, Victoria Siplin was not a citizen. So when I met her about 20 years ago, she was applying for her citizenship. And of course, because of HORIFA, because of President Clinton initiated a bill that would allow Haitian immigrants who had been over here, who was in the asylum process, to apply for HORIFA and get their citizenship. So because of Congressperson Carrie Meek, she and I met, and of course, we got married, and of course, she matriculated, I think in 2008, got a citizenship, and she was able to vote for the presidency for the first time. And of course, she ran for the county commission as the first Haitian elected in Central Florida. And a couple of years ago, she was elected to be chairperson, president of all the Haitian American elected officials from around the country. And we had all of them here in Orlando last January, and had a great event. And of course, she's treasurer today. And of course, after we saw that, you know, it appealed to her emotions. She wanted to do something. So she said a couple of Thursdays ago, Gary, let's go to Del Rio. And of course, she booked the flight. However, before that, we did send a plane load of food to Haiti in relief of the earthquake. So I think a couple of Thursdays ago, we flew to San Antonio. Thursday night, we drove to Del Rio, and we got a chance to visit the bridge. We met with some of the Haitian immigrants there, some of the other members from NEO, the National Organization of Haitian American Elected Officials. And we went to Del Rio, and of course, we had a meeting with the Border Patrol under the bridge. So we got this kind of like the bridge over by I-4 in Michigan. Okay, so it's a bridge where initially it was 200 migrants to 400 migrants. Then there were 900 migrants, and immediately after that, it increased to 9,000. And there were only 90 ICE agents there. And and then of course it increased to 16,000 migrants that were actually accounted for. And as you well know, there was no one matriculated from under the bridge. So what had happened while they were there, and the reason why it increased so far, after we talked to some of the migrants, is that they watch Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp app. And of course, they realized that that border, Del Rio, was the easiest access border to cross from Mexico into America. And you can imagine some of these folk, they're Haitian immigrants. They came from Haiti 9 or 10 years ago. They went to Brazil. Yeah. They went to Chile. Okay, so they speak Creole and Spanish and English. So they stayed there until they got an opportunity on Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp to see that there was an opportunity to come to America. And of course, you know that the president claimed that when he became president, he was going to take down the wall. So of course, the cartel that's in Mexico doing what they do best, they were waiting for him to get elected. And of course, he got elected. And of course, they start doing what they do normally. And of course, this is verified by the DE agents, the ICE that was there with us. Okay, the agents. And of course, so they start coming through Mexico. So some of them flew from Chile. Some of them got a bus from Brazil. Some of them walked. Okay, can you imagine walking in case on a bus from Chile and Brazil through South America and then through Mexico and then getting to the border? And they organized that. They admitted they got all that information from Facebook or Instagram. So they eventually got there. And of course, they crossed. And as we talked to the Border Patrol, they said that, as I said, there was first 200 migrants, then there were 400 migrants. And then as the word spread that they were being admitted over under the bridge, it became to 9,000. And then, of course, eventually 16,000. So the ICE agencies, the Border Patrol said they did feed them. They got water for them and all of that. But of course, there were conflicting reports because someone reported that the migrants under the bridge were not being fed. So what they were doing is going back to Mexico. And as you saw them, I didn't realize what they had in their hands when the Border Patrol on the horses were using their reins to swing at the migrants. And Victoria said, well, baby, that's food. So, obviously they didn't have food under the bridge enough to take care of their family. So they went back to Mexico and got those takeouts, as you and I get when we go to a restaurant to take home. And that's what they had in their hands when they were running, trying to avoid the Border Patrol on those horses. So eventually they really came back under the bridge. And, because of the photographs and because of, Victoria and Leon and other people complaining about what had happened, they began to provide them food. So they had all kind of bathrooms out there. They had food out there. They had water out there. Because of that videotape and because of the action of the Border Patrol using the reins at the men who were getting food for their families. And by the way, a third of the migrants there are children, were children. Okay. And we have a family now in Orlando who's a mom, she's pregnant 9 months. So, we're making provisions for her to go to Arnold Palmer, Winnie Palmer to have her baby. So they were under the bridge. As he said, no one was processed under the bridge. The migrants were sent to ICE Center to determine their status. Some of them have ankle bracelets on, some of them don't. The migrants have been coming since August 31st from 92 different nationalities. Okay, so they're not all Haitians.
Right.
92 different nationalities. And from January to August 31st, there's been over 90,000 migrants come to America. All right. Wow. And they're not all Haitian. Okay. Wow. There were only 7,000 last year because of the previous administration's policy. They had Mexico stop those migrants in Mexico and they could apply from that point. So it was much less migration across the border. But this year it's been over 90,000. And of course, you can see some from the reports that there's about 16,000 more in the Caribbean headed towards Texas. And we don't know exactly where they will try to cross over. And when we got to the border, to give you a little bit, and I think I posted under the bridge, but there is a fence out there that they're building right now that you go through in order to get to the border. And Del Rio does have an immigration a station where people can come from Mexico, and go through immigration and and visit and vice versa. All right, but these folks didn't have any papers, so they went across the river and the water and crossed there and got under the bridge. And the Border Patrol agent said, because it was so hot out there, that's why they told them to go under the bridge to take shelter.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, Attorney Siblin, what I want to know is because, like you said, there were conflicting reports, and they weren't being fed, and now I hear that they were being fed. Now, is this from the start when they saw them gathering at first, or was it like when they started processing them a few days later?
Well, we're not quite sure. There's conflicting testimonies. Obviously, everybody was not being fed if the dads and the men had to go back to Mexico and get those takeout boxes to bring back to their families. Okay. Right. So once they saw that, then because of the pressure, I believe they began to get organized and to provide them with free food and water and toiletries and things like that. Okay. And then, of course, once the cry came out from Congress and we talked to Marco Rubio and some other folk, they made some phone calls. And of course, President Biden said he was going to correct it. And Maoka came out there. One of Victoria's colleagues, the president of NAON, met with Maoka, and he said he was going to get rid of it. And by the time we got there that Friday morning at about 1 o'clock, all the migrants had been sent to ICE, and they were matriculated to various organizations. Like, for instance, they have NGOs, non-government organizations, where the migrants go there and they help them get tickets to go to family members around the country if they have family members or places to settle. And of course, there's one organization called the World Center Kitchen that fed the migrants twice a day. And Victoria and I, we did go to Miss Tiffany Burrows' Val Verde Border Humanitarian Coalition, which is in Del Rio, where all the migrants came there. They fed the kids, they gave them clothes, they gave them food, they gave them a lunch when they got on the bus to go to the airplanes, the jets, to go to different places throughout America. And of course, Victoria and I, we met some of the migrants who were going to Orlando, and we exchanged numbers with them. And of course, we just met one family Wednesday. He had an appointment, the four of them, his wife, his 9-month-old, and his 18-year-old son, to go to immigration. So we made sure they attended so they won't be in violation of the law. So they went there, and now they got another appointment in 2023. So the process now that Victoria and I are working on is making sure that if they're going to be here for 2 more years before they get matriculated, that they get their work permit, since we don't want them, they got to take care of their family. And of course, that is a part of immigration. They can't get a work permit. So we're going to be asking about the work permit. And of course, Victoria's asking about the ankle bracelet on one of the father's ankles. So, I mean, that's kind of like a buggy item that shouldn't be there. I don't understand why they do it, but they've done it to some of the migrants. So that's what we're working on. As I said before, we started to show the babies. A lot of the babies that we saw in Del Rio had, coughing. They had a cough about them. And obviously it's kind of sandy out there and dusty out there. And one of the babies that we took to immigration on Thursday, Victoria called and got them an appointment, at a clinic, and the baby has an infection. I'm quite sure the other babies have infections too. And they gave them a prescription that's for the next 10 days that will get rid of the infection, so the baby will be okay. And the other family that has the 9-month pregnant wife, we're organizing with her to get into Winnie Palmer. And of course, the Haitian ministers here in Central Florida have stepped up, and they found housing for the migrants that have come to Orlando, Florida. They've identified some family members. Victoria and I have visited some of the homes. We talked to Pastor Cowell and Pastor David Jocks. They've stepped up to the plate, and they're helping out big time. So all we're trying to do right now is make sure that every immigrant go to ICE to comply with the law, so they're not in violation, and they will get immediately deported if they come find them. And of course, we want to make sure that they get their work permit, so they can start taking care of their families and not be a burden on the welfare system or whatever, because there are a lot of jobs out there. We're passing by McDonald's yesterday. They had jobs. We were down I Drive, the businesses there. We're saying hiring all positions. So, and they've asked Victoria about working. She said, well, you can't work right now. We told them that you got to just wait until we get you a work permit, and then we can definitely find you a job and your wife to get a job. And of course, the 18-year-old, they're in Pine Hill. So we called the school board, and the school board said, yes, get the information to us, and we'll get the 18-year-old to finish up his 12th grade year, hopefully at Evans High School. So, we'll matriculate in a legal, in a fair and sanitized and healthy manner. And we're very grateful for people like you want to broadcast this to see if folk out there do want to help. And of course, the Haitian pastors and county government has helped out. The medical staffs have helped out around how mental health has helped out. So we've given a great deal of assistance from everybody around here. And of course, Rubio's office has been great. They've been communicating with Victoria day and night. Rubio even called me when I was in Del Rio to see what kind of assistance that he could provide. So it's always good that people forget politics, and decide that people are people that need help. And I'm very proud of that fact.
All right. Well, thank you. I thank you for your service, you and Vice Mayor Victoria Sipling, because it's a lot of people, especially in the political world, and they talk a good game, but you guys are really about service, and I really appreciate that, because I feel so good to know that there's somebody out there. I might not have the skill or the know-how, but you guys know how to get work permits and how to work with that community so they can go ahead and get work here in this country. So I'm so relieved to hear that. Thank God for you. Russell, did you want to ask Attorney Sipling anything? Because this is a rare opportunity where we get to interview someone who actually went down to the border.
Well, first, let me say good morning, and thank you for having this Mindsets for Success TV show. Also, good morning to Senator Sipling, who's very knowledgeable. If you ask me, he just defined the mindset for success. Everybody, likes to go around and say that Black Lives Matter. And if we're going to say Black Lives Matter, Black lives definitely include those Haitian lives that were at risk. He gave an excellent description of what's occurred from the persons. Here you have individuals that are escaping Haiti because you had an assassination of a president, you've had earthquakes, you've had hurricanes, you've had a lot of disasters, and some of them flowed all the way down to South America, and they were trying to come through the land of the free and home of the brave that's getting exposed, that they're getting abused. Senator Simpler went to describe how people are living under conditions where many are starving, families, whole families, and men, women, children, boys, girls. In addition to that, newborns, people having babies right under the bridge that he described. He and his wife, Commissioner Sipling, took the initiative to go out there. So many people were afraid, but they took the initiative to go out there. Again, it's like turning that anger into action. After the marches, after the forums, let's go out there and make a difference. So now what you just described is the thing is policy. How do they get asylum? Informing the people and understanding how you can assist. And at the end of the day, one Senator Sipling once told me that politics is how much and who gets it, and assuring that they get it. So I don't think there's a question. I guess the question is, how much more can individuals assist? Can we donate money to a specific cause that you recommend to help in this effort?
Yes, there is, Russell. That's a very good question. And there is NEON, which is a not-for-profit organization that Victoria and all the Haitian elected officials from around the country are a part of. And they are in the process of getting lawyers for those people. And I can give you the information as NEON, and you can call, give you our number, you can call, so that people can donate money to NEON, and NEON will share the money to a variety of organizations around the country. Victoria, as a treasurer now, she sat down and wrote about 10 checks out there. I think one check was $10,000 to organizations that are helping the Haitians matriculate in America today. So yes, you can contribute to NEON and they will utilize the money to give to organizations that are really helping these Haitians out.
And that in itself is awesome. So along with that, so we have Neon, which Commissioner Siblin served as president of for a couple years even, that is matching these efforts to help persons of Haitian descent. And I think Temia, she does, I'm the founder and CEO of Build Black Daily, and it's Black, specifically saying Black and not African American, because that's inclusive of persons of every demographic of
That's right.
African descent, whether they're Caribbean American, Jamaican, Haitian. You got everything, Black Mexican, Black Puerto Rican, brothers and sisters, Black Brazilian. You got Blacks of every effort. And I think the thing is for people to understand, we're all Black in it. You know, it's like, again, it sounds good to say Black Lives Matter until it's time to prove that Black Lives Matter. And we see that we have some separation amongst our own brothers and sisters right here. And
I mean, we're all Black though.
Yeah. But see, it's like, what better than a state like Florida to see? Florida has so many persons, it's such a dynamic multiculturalism that Senator Siblin, Commissioner Siblin, take the initiative to go out there. Like I said, they even got our U.S. senators calling them to leverage the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really on us to push it up and give it more visibility. Give it more visibility and sow resources into it. So I'm going to tell you, I'm one person, but I can put $400 into Neon myself.
Wow, praise God.
You know?
Wow.
And I'm gonna, you send me the info, I'm gonna, put $400 into that. I might be remiss if I didn't tell you about the good work and mentorship I've gotten from Senator Siblin over the years. He is a man of action. He's not gonna sit still. And he's blessed to have two children that have gone on to great HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. And if we're gonna say that, we must say the Black. And he's an alum of Johnson C. Smith University, myself of Howard University. So which his son is blazing the golf team.
That's true.
Right now, he is blazing it. I've been seeing it, man. Very proud of the work that you and your family continue to do. But it's like, we got to keep the main thing with this. Don't, like, you see in the press cycles, it's dying down some, but there's still thousands of people that need help.
Exactly.
And the exposure of the treatment, all right, it was horrendous treatment. It was horrible treatment. And it begs the question, how long has this treatment been going on? Before it was caught on camera, right? How long have they been literally treating people as third-class individuals, taking advantage of them? It gets caught. It needed to get caught and exposed. And you're right. The Biden administration, they got to take some accountability. They got to.
Well, let me stop you right there. I want to chime in on that, Russell, because the Biden administration, which I really take them at their word, I think that they're sincere in the fact that they pledged to do better. Biden promised to do better. So I think they'll get there. But in the meantime, I want to play this clip because this is the Border Patrol chief. His name is Raul Ortiz. And he said in a press conference that they didn't know who were the smugglers and who were the migrants. This is their answer when he was asked the question about, why do you have the horseback men out there with their whipped reins or whatever you call it. But this is his answer. And he said that they didn't know who were who. So they had to maintain security. And to me, that seems to be an excuse. Like, I'm expecting better. Like, you need to have some kind of order. And I know it's rough being out there on that terrain and to have some type of process and order. But I'm looking at this as an excuse, and I'm expecting better. I'm expecting them to do a whole turnaround and to not have this visual again. Okay, so let me just go ahead and play this clip, and then I want you guys to chime in afterwards.
I will tell you that the Horse Patrol units down here are going to play an integral part in the security response. As you know, we have about half of this area locked down, and we're working on trying to get the other side of the bridge completely locked down. And so what I asked our Horse Patrol units to do yesterday is to do an assessment and find out if we had any individuals in distress and to be able to provide information and intelligence as to what the smuggling organizations were doing in and around the river. As was witnessed in the video and some of the pictures, the migrants were going back and forth. We do not know who are the smugglers or who are the migrants. So it's important that those Border Patrol agents maintain a level of security for both themselves and for the migrant population as they were trafficking back and forth. But as the Secretary mentioned, I've ridden horses for several years. Operating in the riverine environment on horseback is a difficult situation, and trying to maintain control of those horses so we do not get in a position where we injure a migrant as they're trying to make that treacherous trek across that river is probably more important than anything, and I'm pretty sure and confident that that's exactly what was happening. But we will certainly look into the matter to make sure that we do not have any activity that could be construed as a response to a law enforcement effort that is unacceptable. Thank you.
Okay. So what do you guys think about that? Because again, I'm trying to be positive, okay? But and again, I know the Biden administration is sincere in their promise to make things better. So, but what do you think about this? Because I don't want to see this image again of them, ropes or reins, whatever you call it. I believe Senator Zipplin call it reins. Is that
Yes,
what the
that's what it
term
was.
is? I
Yes.
don't want to see that image because these are not cattle. These people are not cattle. They're not sheep. They're human beings. So what can we do to improve this? Some kind of, humane way of dealing with migrants. Yes, it's illegal the way they're going about it, but it doesn't warrant this type of action.
Well, we got to be fair, and the Border Patrol does have a very difficult job. I was observing news station yesterday, and of course, they were showing the cartel firing bullets or whatever they were firing from Mexico into America, which is being looked into by the Secretary of State right now. And of course, the cartel does have a strong influence in Mexico in trying to get drugs and fentanyl and things like that to America. And of course, they have to see if there's a criminal or there's an immigrant. But I think this could have been averted if they would have provided those families with food and water, and then there would not have been a need to go back over to Mexico to purchase food in those bags and then come back to try and feed their families. So they have a right to try and protect, the border. But of course, if they had fed them, provided them food and water, then the men would not have been going back to Mexico and coming back with the food, and they wouldn't have to have the horses trying to discern if they are a legitimate immigrant or they're part of the cartel. So that's how I would explain that. But I do think that the Biden administration need to develop a border policy, an immigration policy for the whole country, not just the border, but for everybody, because there are people who come to America to work on the work permits. And I've talked to some of my corporate clients, and that time frame is backed up 2 years to get legitimate workers to come to do a work that other Americans can't do. So I think he has a right to say that. But of course, if they had acted proactively before that, there wouldn't have been a need to use those reins around those Haitian immigrants.
We will continue with our discussion next week.
You have the mindset for success. If you're looking for positivity,